My name's Sophie, and today I'm going to look at the question, who makes a better manager, the introvert or the extrovert? I will be discussing graduate unemployment, different management styles. I'll also give a short summary of both an introvert and an extrovert and discuss which one makes a better manager. This year, youth unemployment has hit its highest levels since the 1980s. 28% of UK graduates who left university in 2007 are still not in full-time work. People are in debt, demotivated, and considering all of us will be looking for a job, whether it's in 2 weeks' time or 2 years' time, we all need to be prepared for what the industry has to hold. So, how do we make sure we fit the criteria that employers are looking for? I began looking at certain management styles, and these are the two that stuck out for me: introvert and extrovert. When I did a quick search, the definitions that came up for an introvert were shy, loner, recluse, wallflower, and for an extrovert, life of the party, show off, and exhibitionist. Whilst an extrovert was described, none of these words are particularly accurate or complimentary, but these are the misconceptions that people have of an introvert and an extrovert. In order to improve our management skills, we need to understand which one is properly. This will prepare us in the future for when we are looking for jobs, hiring people, or working in teams. This entertainment industry favours the extrovert as they are more energetic and outgoing. Carl Jung suggests that everyone has an extroverted side and an introverted side, with one being more dominant than the other. People alter their behaviour all the time, and even extreme introverts and extroverts do not always act according to their type. It can be detrimental for an introvert to change their personality in order to get along in an extroverted industry. Therefore, introverts should not change their personality, instead approach situations differently. We are born either an introvert or an extrovert due to this chemical in our brain called dopamine. Extroverts need more of this chemical in order to be active, which is why they need more motivation and activity to feel good. If introverts have too much of this chemical, they get exhausted, which is why they need time out to take time to recharge and think. So, taking into consideration everything that's been said, here is a more honest description of an introvert, described by Marcy Laney. An introvert isn't a person who is shy. Being shy has little to do with being an introvert. An introvert is a person who is energised by being alone and whose energy is drained by being around other people. They consider only deep relationships as friends, feel drained after outside activities. They are good listeners, they think, then speak, and often appear calm and self-contained. When introverts want to be alone, it means that they either need to regain their energy or that they need time to think and be with their own thoughts. An extrovert is the complete opposite. They are someone who are energised by being around people. They like to be in the thick of things, they relish variety, they know lots of people and consider lots of people to be friends, and they enjoy talking even if it's to strangers. They tend to think while speaking, and extroverts usually fade when alone and can easily become bored when around other people. Their ability to make small talk makes them appear to be more socially adept than introverts. If we compare both definitions of an introvert and an extrovert, it appears that the better option is the extrovert. Extroverts have the right characteristics to cope in our entertainment industry and have the advantage when it comes to networking and social situations. Therefore, they appear to have one foot in the industry already. Introverts need to work in their quiet temperament in order to overcome being ignored by the industry. Extroverts generally make great salespeople because they are confident with what they are trying to sell and comfortable with expressing their own opinions. Introverts are a lot more insecure when expressing their own opinions. They perform best when they are in character of someone else or betraying somebody else's idea. In order to feel more these are some examples of famous introverts. For example, we've got Gwyneth Paltrow, Clint Eastwood, Meryl Streep, and even Harry Potter, who's a fictional character, is an introvert. When I was researching, there was this one executive who works at a major record label And when he's going to major conferences, he gets into the character of James Bond in order to feel more cool and confident. And today, this is my worst nightmare standing in front of you because I'm an introvert. So therefore, I'm trying to be lucky, but it's not really working, so I'll move on. In the past, I have always believed that in order to be successful, you have to be an extrovert in this industry. Whether you're wanting to go into theatre, dance, music or film, etc. Everyone has a preconceived idea of what a great manager is. I assume that extrovert managers were the successful ones. If we look at Simon Cowell, for example, he is constantly in the media eye and portrays most of the extrovert characteristics. He is one of the most successful people in the music industry, and I would assume looking at him, I would have to adapt to his persona in order to be successful. It is a popular myth that extrovert is the model you need to follow in order to triumph in the workplace. I am guilty of believing this myth, and it wasn't until the third year I realised otherwise. I started my placement at an events company, and it was all to do with working fast-paced and talking to people, and I just thought, this isn't for me. And I moved on to another placement, and it was an artist management placement. And I realised my skills were more suited to this job, as I had more time to think through things and develop my ideas. Therefore, now, for everyone in this room, it's the right time to decide where you fit into the workplace. This will give you the advantage against other people when applying for a job, as you are able to tell a company exactly why you should be working with them and what assets you can bring. When researching this topic, I discovered some data showing that 40% of introverts now have a job at an executive level. The reality is that an equal number of introverts and extroverts at executive levels are all great managers. Our problem we're facing is having the ability to adapt to what is needed for the people we are working alongside. Extroverts, but mainly introverts, need to seek and understand how to play to their strengths. We want to be in this percentage of graduates who are employed after the first year. Therefore, my argument is not who makes a better manager, but how to be a better manager, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Graduates are losing out to interns when applying for jobs, highlighting the dominance of work experience as a key tool in securing employment. Those with little work experience stand less chance of securing a job. The good news for us, and the great thing about third-year placement, is that more than a third of graduate vacancies available this year are expected to be taken by people who have already worked for the firm while they were studying. In this day and age, paper qualifications isn't going to guarantee us a job. Organisations are now looking for people who have had experience in the industry. It's to do with who you know, what you know, which is vital when it comes to looking for a job. In order to sell yourself, you have to believe and be able to convince other people that you are worth their investment. Both introverts and extroverts have their own strengths, and by knowing it will enable us to apply and make use of the certain skills we all have. One of the biggest strengths for an introvert is their written skills. They use words to explain and tell a story instead of talking and verbally explaining it. If we go back to the characteristics before of an introvert, it says that they need time to think and reflect in order to articulate what they are saying. Social media is one place in which introverts can thrive. Introverts can write a message on Twitter and rely on the extroverts to carry through that message while they rest and recharge. This enables us all to harness each other's strengths. Each personality brings a unique skill to the table within social media, and it also creates opportunities for introverts to be out there among extroverts. Extroverts make great salespeople. They are able to talk and think on the spot. Most companies will seek out this gregarious kind, who isn't afraid to strike up a conversation and recruit them to their sales team. Sometimes selling can be a hindrance to extroverts. To be good at sales, you have to listen and look in order to target the right consumer market, which is an area that extroverts can sometimes struggle with. In interviews, this is an area which extroverts also exceed in. They are executing similar skills when trying to sell a product, apart from this time they are trying to sell themselves. Introverts struggle a lot more when they're being interviewed, as they hate projecting themselves onto people. Therefore, in order to gain the advantage, they need to get into certain character, whether it's dressing smartly or even having a haircut. This will bring the introvert more confidence. When it comes to teamwork, both introverts and extroverts have their own strengths and weaknesses. Extroverts make sense of the world by first talking about it and thrive on working with others. They rarely go deep when discussing ideas and don't mind moving from topic to topic. Their pace is quick, and the more they can juggle, the better. As an introvert, they have the natural ability to tune into other people's ideas. They are able to delve more deeply into issues suggested by the extroverts before moving on to new ones. Introverted leaders think before they speak, whether it's in a conversation or a meeting. They consider and reflect other people's comments before responding. They learn best by listening and not talking, which is why a lot of people sometimes consider introverts to be shy. So, in order to be part of the discussion, introverts need to plan well in advance questions they may want to ask in meetings so they do not get left behind. When asked to respond to requests or ideas, introverts should tell their team that they need to absorb what's being asked and be clear on how and when they'll get back to that person. If you consistently follow this through, this will help you build trust within your team, and only then can a team succeed. For many people, the stereotype that you need to be an extrovert to be a great leader still exists. A recent study showed that 65% of executives stated that they perceived introversion as a barrier to leadership. Only 6% said they believed introverts make better leaders. Most likely, these findings are because extroverts, through their comfort of networking and their ability to build relationships, are more likely to get noticed. Many people say their best boss was an introvert because in the extroverted business world, an introvert's reflective leadership style could be an asset to that team. So rather than being an extrovert, introverts just need to adapt to certain behaviours in order to get along in the workplace. From researching this topic, I've discovered that there is no definitive answer to which one makes a better manager. Being an introvert or an extrovert doesn't determine your leadership ability. What makes a great leader is the ability to adapt your behaviour so that you can bring out the best in others and connect with your team members in such a way that they are motivated to follow you. I believe what makes the best manager is someone who can gain trust easily, whether it's from an artist they are managing or an event they are working at. By recognising and encouraging people's strengths, it makes your job that much easier. Thank you for listening.
Okay, any questions? Extroverts first. Yeah. It was a joke. It wasn't very good.
Could you maybe like that there's like a scale? You don't really have to be an introvert, you don't have to be an extrovert. Could you be kind of somewhere on a scale and then assess kind of maybe both sides of
sorry.
It's all right. I'll give you a chance to
thank you.
So Debs was asking, is everybody an introvert or an extrovert, or is it a scale? Are we somewhere on a scale? Might we be somewhere in the middle?
Well, in the whole of the world, there's 20% of the world is introverts and 80% are extroverts. But when I was researching, it did say it can be in between. But I think you are bound. It depends on what situation you're in. Like for this, for example, there's a lot of extroverts which will be shitting themselves because this is just not a good place to be. Like it is quite daunting. So, but then in interviews, introverts might be more scared of that, and I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know. Yeah, it depends on the situation really. But I think there is people out there who can be in the middle. Yeah.
Great. Danny?
Yeah, I don't know if you sort of researched this or stumbled upon it at all. But do you think introverts, because they're less likely to sort of express their opinions quite as much as the extroverts, that they can build up more stress than the extroverts, and somehow that affect them?
Yeah, like introverts, they tend to exude this calmness, but inside they're building up all this stress and yeah. But extroverts, the way they deal with it is to let that stress come out and do it by talking to people or going out and betraying that, just getting rid of that stress rather than hibernating it and build it up.
Helena?
Do you think that that can lead to introverts being taken more seriously because they're not constantly talking? Like, I'm sure people have heard my opinion on everything in the world, but not so much yours. So when you do express an opinion, do you think people listen to you more?
I think that's a good example of when it's in like meetings and stuff. What the extroverts tend to do is throw ideas out there, while the introvert just like stays dumb for a bit. And then they come up with one great point, and then that kind of resolves the whole thing which extroverts have been fighting over, and then they can move on. So they have to help each other really. That's the point of this presentation is it's not one's better than the other. If we work together, it makes for a better team.
You said before that the entertainment industry sort of champions the extroverted sort of characters.
Yeah.
As an introvert yourself, what tips would you like? How are introverts going to survive in
In this industry.
Yeah.
I think what you have to do is just push yourself. Like, I was coming up with all kind of ideas of how I could not do this presentation. I thought, well, get run over by a car maybe. But if you push yourself, then that's the main thing, and just try and overcome these barriers. And it does build up their confidence, and introverts can change, and they can become more extroverted.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very well done.